I supported John Martin once, and I got there, and from my sound check, and there was a sort of bouncer guy on the door, and he said, "Oh yeah, come in, mate. Just sit over there for a while. The sound guy will come out in a minute." Okay, I was sitting there, and there was this old drunk at the bar with about 4 pints and about 7 whiskies lined up. Bouncer guy saw me staring at him, and he said, "Yeah, sorry about that. We'll get rid of him in a minute. He's out of it." And it was John Martin. I said, "I don't think you'd better throw him out, mate." Yeah.
Welcome to the Cheers and Strings podcast, the show where I talk to musicians about what's happening within the local music scene, as well as listening to some of their original music. So today, my guest is Phil Burdett, who's a singer-songwriter and poet from the southeast of England. He's got decades of experience of working in the creative space, both as a solo musician and in a number of different bands. This should be a really great episode, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation. So let's dive into it. So Phil, thank you very much for joining me today.
A pleasure, sir.
So I think it's safe to say that you've been writing music for quite a long time, is it?
Yes, since I reckon I was about 15 when I first wrote a song, so that would be nearly 3 years now.
Yeah, so how would you say that your music style has changed over the years?
I think it changes constantly in the sense that I listen to new music, listen to different music, and it tends to follow a pattern where if I've listened to a certain type of music for a week or so, I'll end up writing a song like that, but hopefully not directly like that, or I'll end up in court. But it's I can listen. One day, one week I want to write a country song, next week a folk song, then I'll hear The Fall and I want to be in an indie band. You know what I mean? It tends to change, and hopefully the quality gets better. Is the only thing that changes. I want it to change constantly. I want it to be in flux, but the quality to improve.
So when it comes to selling music, do you feel it's important to stay within a certain range of genres, or do you?
I've never really thought about that. I mean, I just do.
You just do what
I do and stick it out there, and if someone likes it, they'll give me £10.
Indeed, yeah. I think someone that's been writing music for as long as you have, the only reason that you're going to still be doing it, although you want to earn some money while you're doing it, I think you've got to do it because you love it, right? Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a living out of it. It's no one ever asks a plumber whether they, why don't they do it for love? Do you know what I mean? And it is work, it is work, but it's work that I want to do and need to do, and it helps me. So it'd be nice if you get paid for that sort of thing. Yeah? Society hasn't quite collapsed to the point where they don't pay artists, but
almost.
Yeah, except in Westcliff apparently.
So do you have any gigs lined up?
I do. It's a bit complex because I've got a secondary band as well that they're called Dead City Athletic, and I do about 1 gig per millennium, but we seem to play all the time and people like it. So we're playing the Towngate Theatre in good old Basildon next Thursday, which is the 4th, Election Day.
Fantastic.
So vote Dead City.
So in regards to your career, do you have any plans moving forward?
Yes, I plan to have one. Yeah.
So in terms of like bands and...
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to put the gigs I do tend to be random little gigs where I'm playing on my own and supporting people, but I want to change that, so I've actually got a little band that will do my stuff exclusively, and I can actually, be on last and play to people like, look, we're taking it seriously, everyone. So, I'm putting that little band together now for an album project, and we'll do some shows after that.
So do you have any specific memories of gigs that stick out to you that you've done in the past?
good or bad.
Well, both would be nice. Yeah.
There's been some gigs that usually the ones I remember are the ones that are either disastrous or very pleasing. The middle ground, you tend to forget all those. But I supported John Martin once, who was a hero of mine. that was a nice combination because it was a good venue, the Half Moon in Putney, and I played well, and it was supporting John Martin, so it was like everything came, the stars aligned for that one. There's been certain gigs I think where I've performed well and not necessarily gone down that well, and vice versa. I've sort of thought I've come off stage thinking I was appalling, and people are rushing up telling me I'm a genius, which is. I think that's more distressing actually when you think you play badly and everyone thinks you're great. I'd rather it the other way around.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the John Martin gig sticks out. I really enjoyed doing that, and it was a good gig to do as well because it was all new people and someone famous. So the tour with Judy Zook was good. It was very polite. It was all theatres and.
Right. When was that?
Oh my God, I was terrified you were going to ask me that. Possibly early 90s, I'd guess. Right. It was when the first album came out, with the Diesel Poems album came out. It was just, we were trying to get a record deal at that point, and certain people were trying to swing it for us, so I had the BBC following me around, which was, slightly disturbing.
What, for this documentary?
Yeah, it was an open space documentary on BBC Two. It was a regular sort of feature on BBC Two, and it was ostensibly about me trying to get a record deal.
Yeah.
So it was somewhat fabricated, but it was generally they were just following me around and watching me drink in different pubs around England.
Right. Did you get the record deal in the end?
We did, yes.
You did, yeah. Who was that with?
It was with Demon Records. It was a subsidiary of Demon Records called FB. It was more or less the old Stiff crew that relocated. People like Reckless Eric, I think, were on, and Elvis Costello ran the label we were on. It sold okay, the first album, but I wasn't particularly happy with it, and I was drinking too much, so that's all I remember.
So that was, what was the name of the album, sorry?
Diesel Poems.
Diesel Poems.
Called, yeah, and the band was me and the New World Troubadours.
Right.
So, we were a good live band, but the recording sort of, I thought it flattened it all out and made it a bit produced,
right.
which I wasn't particularly happy with, but I was, didn't care at the time as much as I do now.
Yeah.
If I could have my time again, I'd do exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So was that your first experience in a recording studio?
Kind of, yeah. I recorded a vinyl album when I was in Basildon, which was it was a very ramshackle thing, but that was called Red Brick Spleen.
Yeah, funnily enough.
Oh my God.
I happen to have that right.
Yes, well, that's what eBay's for.
Does that look about right to you?
That looks horrifically right. Yeah.
Have a look at that. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Yeah. Steve Stott did the cover, actually.
Yeah.
So that's about the best thing about it, to be honest with you.
It is a good cover, yeah.
Some of the songs are okay. But
yeah, so
it's a thing. It's the only vinyl album I've ever made, so
yeah.
So take it away.
There's a number of different instruments on here. We've got saxophone, violin, drums, percussion, mandolin.
It was basically anyone who played anything in Basildon. Right. I gathered together and told them to jam along with whatever I did. So it was like a Bob Dylan rehearsal, basically. It was, he sort of says, here's the next one, follow me.
Right.
That's how it was. Yeah, so I don't remember a lot about it, to be honest with you. I remember there was a goat outside the studio that used to eat my coat every time I tried to feed it. And there you go. That tells you all you need to know about that album. Even the goat hated it.
So in regards to your music now, what are you working on at the minute?
At the moment, I've entered the digital realm. Try and say that with a straight face one day. Because I would much prefer having like CDs or vinyl in an ideal world, but it's getting more and more expensive and no one seems to want CDs anymore. So I've done 2 albums of 3 albums of digital music. You can download the tracks and I illustrate lyrics, and you can download a PDF of that. That's all at my website, www.philburdett.com. I need a voiceover for that, don't I? Yeah,
Add some echo in.
Absolutely, yeah. The voice of doom. Yeah, it's a way of getting music out, because I write all the time, so it's a way of getting music out there without having to arse around with CDs and getting them together and paying for them, more importantly. So I urge people to check those out, because there's some stuff on there.
Yeah. So what style is that?
Me. It's just me. Yeah, it varies from song to song sometimes. But it's singer-songwriter stuff.
Generally acoustic. Yeah.
Not always. I've got a little studio at home that I throw a load of noise at it. So it's not just acoustic, but it's acoustic based, I think they call it now.
So do you generally produce your own music then? Nowadays,
yes. I'm getting a little band, the band I told you about, to get together to do my own stuff, and I'm going to do that via a little project with songs, and I want to make that a real CD. And so I'll probably get someone else to record that, because there's more of us. I mean, I do most of the digital stuff on my own. With a woman called Colleen McCarthy, who helps me a lot and sings backing vocals and stuff. But she'll be in the band as well. But we're recording an album, rehearsing up, I think it's 9 songs, and recording an album later in the year. So when that's done, we'll go out and play some shows with that.
So we recorded a few of your songs earlier.
Yes.
Should we give one of them a listen?
If you must.
Fantastic. So if we start with Litter Picker, could you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a song from an album, I believe it is Tall Tales from a Low County. And it's a song about the long distant past, when I had a job litter picking on a landfill site, which is possibly the best definition of futility I've ever heard in my life. But I was listening to a band called the Television Personalities, who were one of my favourite bands at the time, and I wrote it recently, the song for this particular album, and it's about how we pick up the litter of our lives, I suppose, and it was sort of with Dan Tracy in mind, who's the lead singer who had a lot of mental issues, I think they call it these days, as have I. Cue the evil laughter.
Okay, great. Let's give it a listen.
Can't remember the last time I saw snow. November walking the what tidal wave, formerly Marsh Road. It was 40 dirty wild years ago. I've seen snow falling since, I suppose, but I don't really know. I've been too close to the dreamers. sing a sailor's song, and I believe them all. But now I'm making this old house brighter for the darkness by letting in the sunshine. Thinking all that the wind has blown away, that old crazy dog called melancholy love. Well, he always seemed to stray. Damn Tracy, man, oh, I can hear your pain. The heart so hard, and holding that gets harder every day. We're just picking up the litter, we're burying all the anger in the cold gray earth. Now I'm making the grass on my side of the fence look better in the sunshine. All this brandy flavored pity in the city, bittersweet, I nurse the dregs of slow recall. And somewhere in my sorrows, on a dawn set in a bedsit, you sing of sunshine tomorrow.
Right, so when it comes to songwriting, how do you generally approach it?
With caution, I'd say, and it tends to just, if I put the guitar down for long enough, I have this theory that the songs build up in it, and I just wander around living my absurd life, then pick the guitar up after a few days, and there's a song in it. And I think all the sort of it needs to filter down in a way. It's like I never write a song about one thing. It's and it needs to build up, and then it filters down, and it's almost like it's been strained through a sieve or something. And what comes out the bottom is the song, but it can be in any sort of order. The events can be in order; they can be mixed up. But I know when I'm happy with it. And that's when it's finished.
Yeah. So you don't generally sit down specifically to say, I'm going to write a song today?
No. I'd never be able to do it. Well, I'd be able to do it, but it'll be a bad song because it's like you're forcing yourself to do it.
Yeah.
It's like forcing yourself to smile when someone's telling a bad joke. You just can't. It's not going to look right. Yeah. It's got to be sincere, if only to me, and hopefully then it's sincere to other people, but you can't fool yourself, basically.
Yeah. So do you generally write the lyrics first or the music?
Mostly lyrics first.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes I'll be fiddling around the guitar and come up with a tune and think, oh, that's nice. But it tends to get stored away, and then I'll subconsciously be writing lyrics to it without realising, and then I'll sit down, oh, this fits this news. But the whole process is different every time, really. I mean, it's rarely like, oh, now I will write these lyrics and now I find a tune to fit it. It never works like that. It's always, I think in my head when I'm writing the lyrics, it can be like, oh, this would be a nice folk ballad, and it ends up sounding like Motorhead or something. There's no rules to it until it's finished. Then it is what it is, as they say. I've managed to use that phrase that I hate.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
Yeah, I know. I found myself doing it.
Yeah, so there is a Depeche Mode connection with you, am I right?
There is.
So can you tell me a little bit about that and how that came about?
I'd love to say no now. It was basically I went to school with Martin Gore and Andy Fletcher, and me and Gore formed a band called Norman and the Worms, which was almost like a joke really, but we used to bash around Basildon and play in places like the Castle Main, and I think we did the Baz Rock Festival at one point, and we were pretty awful really, but we were writing our own songs, so it was a way for both of us to sort of do some of our own stuff, and that was all it should have been. It should have been condemned to the dustbin of history, but then of course Martin went on and had the misfortune to become famous. So suddenly I'm like the Pete Best of Depeche Mode. Everyone wants to talk to me. I thought I was really famous when I first went on Facebook. I thought, this is great. All these people have heard me and bought my albums and stuff. And it turned out, 5 questions in, they said, "You still know Martin?" Yeah. So I'm big in Italy now. Yeah.
What type of music was that with Norman and the Worms?
It was a sort of drunken country.
Right, okay. So it wasn't like the synth pop
style? God, no.
Wasn't like Depeche Mode?
That's where we dive. I mean, I liked like krautrock, Can and Faust and Noy and bands like that, as Martin did, but I never wanted to play it particularly because I didn't think it was me really. I was leaning towards sort of folk and blues, country sort of straight stuff, but the stuff I liked wasn't necessarily that. I grew up with my brother's record collection, so it was all sort of strange folk music and blues, old acoustic blues. And then punk hit, and I thought, this is great. What a row this is! This is brilliant. And so you get into that, and you just want to form a band. So we formed a band, and it ended up being a country band. So we were playing like this. We did get some strange looks when we were playing. I think we all wore lab coats at one point, I seem to remember. Maybe that's a fever dream or something. But yeah, so we were sort of a little bit out of place with that. And then I started doing acoustic stuff on my own. And, as you can imagine, that went down a storm at punk gigs. So me and Mick Remington and Mick Nixon, we were the 3 troubadours of upholding the acoustic flag.
Was Mick? He wasn't part of the Troubadours, was he?
No. We had another band with Mick Remington in it called JC and the Pipes, and I've no idea where that name came from. Certainly not me. And we had we did a few gigs with them. Did the Baz Rock thing too with them as well. Yeah, but that was a pretty drunken band. It was like the Pogues, but.
Nice.
More drunk and less rehearsed. Yeah, it was fun, but I don't remember any of it.
So was it ever an option for you to join Depeche Mode?
No. I mean, no. I mean, I doubt whether they would have asked me because they know how much I hated synth pop at that time. And if they had, I would have said no, so it's probably not. It's probably not an option. Everyone started buying synthesizers and thinking they were Brian Eno. Do you know what I mean? So I just sort of saw where that was going and buggered off to the graveyard of the folk circuit, basically.
Yeah, so do you think that has something to do with like the mainstream? Like you were a bit adverse to what was happening in the...
I wasn't adverse to being popular, but what I was playing wasn't popular. So it was out of my hands, really. I mean, I could have been Dave Garn and got up there and, did me best Jim Morrison impersonation. But yeah, I mean, could have done it, but I wouldn't have wanted to, and would have hated every minute of it. So if you want to do that, if I wanted to do that for money, I would have been a bank robber. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So your main instrument is guitar,
yes,
correct?
Yeah.
Do you play any other instruments?
I play bass reasonably well, banjo appallingly.
Really, yeah.
And I think that's it. I was learning piano in the lockdown, but that didn't go well. I can sort of fumble out a tune on the piano, but
do you use any of them instruments for the
recordings? Yeah, the digital recording. I play. I can fake a piano on that because I can multi-track it and sound better than I am. But I play bass on all the. On the digital albums. I play everything on the digital albums. I think Clean plays a bit of piano on some tracks and does backing vocals, but otherwise it's me.
Okay. So you're currently working with a new band, you say?
Yeah, it's refreshing actually because it's not me. You know what I mean, it's three of us, and there's three songwriters from the sort of South End area, and we're all separate songwriters, but we write together and apart in the band. So, and it seems to work really well. It's like a harmony band. It sounds nice. It's we're getting lots of gigs and people like it. So it's nice for me to be in without having to, sort of worry about all the other stuff that goes on when it's your band. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's being a part of a band is a new one on me because I never thought I'd be able to do that. I don't think the other two did either. I don't think Kev or Mikey thought I want to be in a three-piece band where it's not, the one person in control. We really are a democracy, which is rare in a band.
Yeah, but I think that's good because you can take different things from everyone. If you're just writing your own thing.
Yeah, and if we were all the same type of writer, it would have been boring. You know what I mean? But we're all sort of spark off each other with the there's amazingly no sort of egos, even though there's three egos in it. That's hung up at the door when we rehearse and write. So it's been an unexpected pleasure. So long may that sail. Dead City Athletic we're called, by the way.
Dead City Athletic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. And what instruments are in the band?
2 guitars and 3 vocals, basically.
Okay.
So
cool.
It's harmony vocals, sort of like for all the old people, it's like Crosby, Stills and Nash. For all the slightly less old people, it's Fleet Foxes type of thing, with a bit of Richard Thompson thrown in.
Sounds great. What are some of your favourite musicians and people that you've generally been influenced by?
Again, it changes over the years, but favourite music. When I was growing up, because as I say, my brother had used to play me his record collection from when I was about 5 onwards, and that was so my unlikely hero for a 8-year-old was someone like John Fay or John Remborn or people like that. But I loved the old blues, the old acoustic blues people like Son House and Memphis Slim. Then I sort of developed a love for Dr. John and trying to get this in the right order. Van Morrison when he was good before he became absolutely detestably horrible. Turned into a Van Morrison tribute band basically. But the first 5 or 6 albums of Van was good. Dylan, obviously, my brother loved Dylan, so that was probably where the songwriting thing. You listen to Dylan, and you think, I want to do that, And that was, I knew I wanted to write be lyric led after hearing Dylan, Then it was punk, and I loved, oh God, everybody basically. The sort of wordy end of punk I tend to like. I like bands like the Pop Group. When I was staying up in Camden, I used to go see a Pop Group, and The Fall. I went to see them a lot of times.
What about Johnny Cash?
Johnny Cash, I was never. I mean, there's a sort of respect for Johnny Cash rather than. And with country, I like Townes Van Zandt, people like that, Gene Clark, and Mo Haggard, that sort of thing, those sort of people. But Johnny Cash is always there. He's like this, the overlord, isn't he? But I never actually. I mean, never. I don't think I've ever bought anything by Johnny Cash. Whereas I've got everything by Townes Van Zandt.
Right. No, it's just I felt like when I saw you at St Mark's, I just felt like that was the sort of style. Like, I think it's something about your voice that has that deep
think
tone,
I get a lot of if I either do the Johnny Cash thing or the Tom Waits thing. It used to be Van Morrison. That's how I learnt to sing. I copied that, and soul music is. I wanted to be Al Green, but my tonsils wouldn't let me basically. And so you try and sing like that and you end up like something else. And Van Morrison sounds like someone who knows all the soul chops, but he hasn't got the same sort of sweetness in him. And I like that rough edge. Like Tom Waits is one of my favourite people in the universe. And it's great because he sings, he's got the same vocal range as me now. I've got older, so that suits me fine. Captain Beefheart was another one, Those sort of people is what I aim for now, but Johnny Cash always comes out because he's just like, I'll walk the line, but he's got a smoothness to his voice, I tend to like a gravelly edge, sort of 20 fags and a glass of whiskey at 5 o'clock in the morning. That sort of voice is my favourite kind of voice.
Yeah, nice.
I want a whiskey now.
But so I think it's about time we give another one of your songs a listen, don't you?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's do it. So what was the next one? I think it was Come Out Without a Hat On. Was it? that was one of them.
It was one of them. Come Hither Green Breakdown, I think was the second
Okay.
one.
All right. We'll do that one, yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about when you wrote that and what it's about?
It is on an album called Folk Mares, and it was written. I had a gig in a place called Hether Green in London, which is There Be Dragons. Basically, it's a very sort of run-down area. I don't know if it is now, but it was then. And I got to the pub and said to the barman, everything was set up. I said, I've got an hour before I'm on, I'll go for a walk. And he looked at me as if I was insane. Why do you want to walk around near the green? So I went for a walk, and he was right, basically. So the song, I scribbled some of the lines for the song on the way back to the pub. So that's what it's about, basically. It's about having a breakdown in Hether Green. But breaking down Hether Green. See what I did there?
Indeed. Let's give it a listen, yeah?
Come Hether Green, show me the summertime blues. Pepper in egg cups and paint on your shoes. You spin dry lawns in the tumble down morning. You broke your first window the day you were born. Come and remind me of rumbling years, with stones thrown at bus stops and 30-proof tears. But don't take me down to the thick part of town where shops are nailed up and cops push you around. And I weep for the blood-speckled trolley boy scum borrowed from stepdad to pay off the mom. In bucket shop jeans, they burn out their team. Spray painting tags over jobs and a dream. Come watch them grow ancient with brats of their own. Suspended in 70s sepia tone. Pray to their star, no matter how far. As your love disappears like the wheels off a car. Come hither, green breakdown, welcome me in. There are so many ways I can sweeten your sin. For I am the one who writes with a gun. You curse every bullet I aim at the sun.
So that was Come Hither Green Breakdown, yes?
Yes, it was.
Fantastic.
In all its glory.
Indeed, yeah. So you've been performing for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine you have some interesting stories.
Yes, I'm sure you imagine I have.
I imagine, yeah. Do you have anything that springs to mind from gigs or studio experiences?
That I can say in public.
Yeah, you don't have to mention names.
No, but I will. I think the John Martin gig again was pretty eventful because I turned up quite nervous about it because it was someone I liked and really respected as a songwriter. And I got there and for me sound check, and there was a sort of bouncer guy on my door, and he said, "Oh yeah, come in, mate. You sit over there for a while. The guy will come out, and the sound guy will come out in a minute." I thought, okay, I was sitting there, and there was this old drunk at the bar with about 4 pints and about 7 whiskies lined up, and the bouncer guy saw me staring at him, and he said, "Yeah, sorry about that. We'll get rid of him in a minute. He's just, he's out of it." And it was John Martin. I said, "I don't think you better throw him out, mate. He's on in about 2 hours." But the amazing thing about John Martin was he used to be as drunk as you like and just switched it on when he played, because I thought, this is great, I'm going to go on first, and if I'm good and John Martin is drunk, this can only be good news, because I was a vicious man in those days. And he came on and was just superb. It's the best I've ever seen him, and he could barely walk when he went to the dressing room. How does he do that? Because I used to play drunk, but you knew I was drunk. It was Shane MacGowan. It wasn't sort of. I didn't disguise it well, put it that way in those days. But yeah, so that's probably me rock and roll story.
I remember I used to try and limit my band for the amount that they could drink.
You'd have been kicked out of mine, I tell you.
It wouldn't have worked, no. I don't know what that was about, to be honest, but I mean, I was like, we need to take this seriously. We need to pull this together.
There's taking it seriously, and there's an unnecessary limiting of joy.
Yeah, well, I was usually the one that broke the rule anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's fine. I mean, if you're a dictator, you can do what you like, can't you? That's how it works. So that's why I only ever had my own bands.
Yeah. So over the years, have you seen the music scene change in a massive way?
Yes, and not in a good way. The venues I can remember when I was living up in London. You could walk into loads of pubs and there was live music, and you can get gigs really easy. There was little circuits within circuits that you could get onto, and you did one gig and they'd say, "Oh, come and play here," and bands would have you supporting them, or you could get support bands, you could get musicians just by walking down the pub, and it was just fantastic. Didn't think it was fantastic at the time. I just thought that's how it is.
Yeah.
But now it's just, I live in Southend, and there's a pub called the Railway, where all the odd people went and the musicians.
Yeah, I know it quite well.
Yep. Well, there you are.
Yeah, I've played there actually many years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
well, there you go. There you go. So, and it was the place you went, and in Basildon it was like the Towngate Theatre, and it reminded me of that in a way. The old Towngate. I mean,
yeah.
And if you wanted to pick up a musician or get drunk basically and listen to odd music, it was the place to go.
Yeah.
And they closed the railway down now in Southend, and it's and I didn't realise how much of a hub that place was, because it just feels. I mean, our new band's called Dead City Athletic, that's what it feels like,
Yeah.
It's just it's killed off the there's still some venues and still places to play, but I've played in churches now. Yeah. That's there's got to be something wrong with society when the best gig you do is in a church. God bless Mother Cherry.
Yeah, indeed. Do you know Reese? He used to run the railway.
Well, yeah.
Reese Learmouth.
Reese Learmouth, yeah. RJ.
Yeah, RJ. Yeah, I play in a band with him.
Did you?
No, I do now.
I
used to. Years ago, we used to play in a heavy metal band together.
Yeah, he's Mr. Heavy, yeah.
And
he's a poet now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is indeed, yeah, and a politician. Right?
I know, yes, well, yeah, kind of. It's the Green Party, so don't count. Sorry, RJ.
But I play in a band with him still. Now we've started a new thing.
My God, I should interview you. Way more interesting.
Yeah, but he did some good things with that place, and it was just financially. I mean, I just don't think it was.
Well, he took over from Dave Dulake and Fee, who used to run it, and they wanted to do music. They're touring all the time now, so they sort of handed it over to them. It kept it going amazingly, it kept it going for as long as it did. But because it was running on, it was held together with blue tack and string, and there was occasionally no beer and stuff, but the PA fell apart. But it kept going. I mean, it was just a great place to go. We wanted it like that. We didn't want a bloody hard rock cafe type of place. Sort of corporate. Nonsense going on.
Yeah.
You didn't want clean floors. You don't want, I want my beer mats to stick to the table,
Indeed.
Yeah. It was just a great place, and it is no more.
Yeah.
Like all great things, it comes to an end, and then there was Spotify.
So do you think there's any chance of some kind of revival in terms of music and...
No, it's all going down a slippery slope, and it'll end in hell.
Yeah, so you're not very positive about it.
That is me being positive about it. It could be worse than that, but I'm hoping not. No, it's just everything. What do you do now? What do you do if you're in a band? You do podcasts.
You go on a podcast.
Yeah, you go on a podcast. You used to record a couple of songs on a Philips tape recorder and send the cassette in a brown envelope to a record company, and then look in the NME for gigs, or and go to the local pub and pick up a bass player. What do they do now? Most bands are formed by Zoom meetings now. Do you know what I mean? It's like I just don't understand. Headlining Glastonbury, I saw it the other night. I thought, let's see what's going on at Glastonbury. I thought, here's a young woman singing sort of in a fey manner on her own. I thought, that's nice to see. It turns out she was bloody headlining. I've never heard of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Glastonbury's changed a lot over the years. Yeah.
Glastonbury itself is. I went once. I went to see Lou Reed because he was playing, and I'm not a great festival lover, and it was starting to get a bit, corporate. It was like weekend hippies. You know what I mean? It was Dennis from IT, who sort of puts a caftan on for the weekend and thinks he's fucking Jim Morrison. And he probably is. That's the problem. Nah, festivals are like pubs. It should be badly organised. Loads of drugs and everyone basically holding it together with bits of string. Otherwise, it just becomes like big screens now. I told you, I went to. I once saw a woman recording what was on the big screen with her phone. Yeah. I mean, that's it. We're doomed. We're doomed as a species now. Rant over. Next question.
Okay, we'll move on.
Don't get me onto Spotify.
Okay. So your music's not on Spotify now?
It is.
Oh, it is?
That's the problem. Old record companies have stuck it up there and I can't get it off.
Right. What, so you're not getting anything from that?
I'm getting absolutely zilch from it. I mean, Coldplay, God rot them. They're moaning about the royalties. So, you can imagine what I receive. No, I've never had a penny from. So
there's no way around that? Do they have the rights to your old music?
My music doesn't sell enough for it to register on their radar, but any money I am owed is presumably with the record companies, who I'm no longer in touch with. So it's a wonderful game.
So if we move on a little bit,
yes, get on to something I really hate.
So you've done a bit of work with Blip Pilot.
Yes, it's another old Basildon connection. There's a guy called Mike Yeomans, and he moved to Japan, and he was into all the old synth pop and stuff. He was in a band in Basildon that was sort of Depeche Mode-esque, and he moved out to Japan, got married, and I think he split up with her and ended up in Colorado. He's a cowboy now. He works on Stetson and rides horses and stuff. So, but he sort of drifted into doing this sort of trip-hoppy soul, electronic soul stuff. Sort of Portishead stroke something else, which I'm not very good with that genre. But and he just sent me. He asked me if I wanted to write some lyrics and a tune over this stuff, and I thought, that'd be nice, and I ended up doing 10 songs with him. So he's putting them out one by one, and with some videos, and I think we're going to do put it all on an album for posterity. And, but it's actually surprisingly fun to do. I can pretend to be Al Green.
So you did all that from here?
Yeah, I did it from my studio, and it was like he did it in his studio. It was proper. I felt so empowered by my technological know-how.
Yeah. No, it is incredible what you can do nowadays.
It is. That aspect of it is good. Where you can record a whole album, on yourself at home is great. Most of the technological advances in music, I don't mind. I mean, it's like, you can record at home. It's cheaper than going to the studio. It's probably put a lot of studios out of work, but there you go. But yeah, it's all of that stuff I don't mind. Even music changing towards technology, because I, get contacted about Depeche Mode stuff. But Depeche Mode isn't the only electronic music, I mean. But and I really like some of it, and it's good that you can actually find a way of making music yourself that used to be almost like out of your league. It was punk that first broke that. You can get a crap guitar, a cheap amp, and 4 blokes on Watney's Red Barrel, and you're away. Learn 2 chords and you've got an album, and that's what that really broke. How you can approach music. You didn't have to be a fantastic guitarist. Your band didn't have to sound like Genesis or something, or be fantastic. But yeah, so it was just like it was a good way of, and that was almost anti-technology in a way. But now, then the synth thing came out, and everyone can learn to play a few things on synth, drum machines and everything. Suddenly we got a band that way, and that's great. That's fine. You can love it or hate it, but it's making people write stuff is what it's doing.
So I think it's about time we listen to your last song, don't you?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's do it. So what's the name of this one?
This is called Come Out Without a Hat, It's Bound to Rain. It's a song for the pessimists, basically.
Can you go into a little bit more detail about what that's about and when you wrote that?
I wrote it when I was up in London. I was wandering about near Hyde Park, and I wrote it out pretty much as it is, which is unusual, so I normally revise stuff too much sometimes. But I sat down on a park bench in Hyde Park and wrote it about... I wanted it to be against optimism, or unnecessary optimism, I suppose. And it started raining as I was writing the lyrics, and I had no hat. So I took that as my title, and then elaborated thereupon.
Fantastic. Let's give it a listen.
I walked out one morning, once upon a time, cut crystal sharp above the serpentine. Work turns into toads that croak in vain. In dreams I'm running through some grim old tale. I'm both the hunter and the prey, a wily fox that fell from grace to shame. If you're drunk without your lover, in a bar they'll put on Lady Day. Come out without a hat, it's bound to rain. I saw a mouse on a stair in Amsterdam, in the bulldog basement where the lions stay on the lamb. No one knows your number or your name. Ring a roses, they're dragging out the dead. Pretty princess in the castle with a shaven head. The sweetest breeze can turn into a hurricane. If you try and take a nap, the cat is scratching at your window pane. Come out without a hat, it's bound to rain. Low clouds are tumbling through a turn of sky. Dead air tied across your skin. The journey's long through the casino night. If the devil is your croupier, the dice are loaded anyway. Two floor spots empty, my song is full of news, but it fakes and rattles like a crack of blues. Bourgeois failures trapped in tired changes. Old Joe Hill died in a hair shirt of his fears, barbed wire and blood, his almanac of tears. One of these days the South is gonna rise again. If you chance another whiskey, then you're sure to miss the midnight train. Come out without a hat, it's bound to rain. They're digging songs out of the grave, 'cause they say the times are gonna change again. Come out without a hat, it's bound to rain. Come out without a hat, it's bound to rain. tear green.
Okay, brilliant. So how long ago did you say you wrote that?
That was on an album, I think, called Shaky Path to Arcadia. There's a trilogy of albums about Cornwall, but it's another entire story there. So it sits in the middle of that.
And that's a solo one. It's not one that you did with a.
It's with the full band, but it was recorded, at a proper studio as opposed to me fumbling with my technology. But yeah, so it's recorded in Southend, but it was after a trip to Cornwall that gleaned more songs than I knew what to do with. So it recorded 3 albums. 2 have been recorded now. I've just finished recording the other one, the new one. So
right.
So that'll be out next year. It's a double album as well. So
really, yeah.
There's no getting away from it. Basically, just no escape.
Looking forward to that. So, where's the best place for people to find your music then?
All the albums and the 2 novels and the poetry books are all on my website, which is www.philburdett.com. There's various videos on YouTube and things. That some of those are live ones recorded on someone's phone or something, but there are some proper videos on there too. So if you put Phil Burdett into the search thing, you'll probably come up with some dreadful thing I was doing in a folk club somewhere, or it will be a proper video.
Yeah.
So you have to sift through. It needs some filtering, that. But I'm on Facebook. If anyone wants to add me on Facebook, I'll quite happily bore you to death with my opinions about politics and music, at your leisure.
Fantastic. So you've told me that you've written a poem today.
Well, yes, having not brought any of the books with me, and like a professional, I sat down and wrote a poem sort of about a podcast. Or having to remember things,
right? Okay,
is what it's about. But it's inspired by our work today. It's called "Let That Be the Song." Roll out the dice of old times, the rivers weeping and laughter lines, dry as my sleepy bones now, worrisome as those shivering clouds. Ah, but the beat remains steady in my blood, in whatever is now my soul, in my delirious gaping head, soon to fall to flaking skull. And I tap the rhythm out again, entice a new crowd to join in. And if they get my old words wrong, then let that be the song.
Wow.
Needs some work, but it'll do.
No, as you were saying earlier, I think the rawer the better in some respects.
The rawer the better in some cases. That may not be one of them, but it will be a serviceable way to end.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
It's been more fun than it should have been. Thank you, sir.
Cheers. So that was Phil Burdett. If you're a musician or band from the southeast of England and would like to be on the podcast, then just email me at the address below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.